Hello, class. Hello, professor. Hello, everyone. I have my sister and my nephew here watching. I miss you guys. And let's get to it. As you can see, I'm going to speak about sports economics, the way that the money flows through sports, and just everything about it. I hope we learn some very interesting things today. So I want to give you guys examples of the laws of supply and demand in sports economics. First of all, the American sports leagues are natural monopolies. The NFL has 30 teams, and it has a revenue of $8.1 billion. The NBA has 32 teams, and it has annual revenues of $8 billion. The MLB has 30 teams with a revenue of $9.9 billion annually. The MLS, the soccer league, has revenues of $851 million with 26 teams. The NHL, National Hockey League, has 31 teams with $5.9 billion in revenue. Accompanied by all those teams are affiliates, minor leagues such as the G League and the MLB minor league. All of my sources today will be from Statista.com, ESPN.com, Wikipedia.com, and Google.com. The law of supply, determinants in supply. Shifting the supply curve to the right requires technological improvements such as building and improving stadiums, creating a winning team, and hiring an experienced and competitive front office. In 2009, the Cowboys Stadium completed an investment to build a new stadium with a capacity of 110,000 people and a seating capacity of 80,000 people. Prior to this investment, from 2002 to 2009, the Cowboys' rise in franchise value had a 210% change. After this investment in technology, from 2010 to 2017, the same time span, the Cowboys' rise in franchise value had a 265% change, which affirmed the claim and the viewpoint that the technological advancements of this new stadium made it so that the Cowboys can have a 55% change from the prior years in revenues and growth. This is an incredibly difficult task to accomplish because the higher the market value, the more difficult to sustain long-run GDP growth. This again affirms that technological change affects the supply and demand by large margins. The Cowboys are currently the most profitable, valuable sports franchise in the world, worth $5.5 billion. Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys franchise, is heavily involved in this franchise. He is known for making hefty investments that reap very profitable rewards. Again, in 2014, August, the Cowboys invested $1.5 billion, a very hefty investment, on a new practice facility. And it's been reaping the rewards ever since. As we can see, the franchise is worth $5.5 billion. There's another example I'd like to explain, the Mavericks example. Mark Cuban purchased the Dallas Mavericks in 2000 for $285 billion. Mark Cuban has been vocal about his exaggeratedly large investments, making him an outlier in the NBA owners community. He gloats that he is an atypical outlier type of owner who invests very heavily in the well-being of his total organization and regards all his staff members as family. He was the first owner to supply the team with a private jet. In the 20 years that he has owned the Mavericks, its value has increased by 892%. That's a crazy, outrageous number of sustainable GDP growth. 892% in 20 years. I wish I would have invested in that organization as a basketball franchise. Those numbers are unheard of. And he made it happen by making technological advancements. The law of demand, determinants in demand. I found 3 key determinants of the demand that outweigh any other. And this is taste, income, and number of buyers. The taste is the culture, what makes the people come. It drives the interest of the people. If there's no interest, there are no people. The income of the people, how much per capita GDP each person can bring to this market. The number of buyers, how saturated is the market, the supply end of the market, how many consumers are in that market. Consumers' income as a determinant of demand. Teams take on a huge risk by abandoning their fan bases, stadiums, and city. And this is always a very, very expensive endeavor. When this decision is made, the incentives must outweigh the risk to ensure the most profitable immigration. When a team makes this transition, it has 3 great questions in mind. Number 1, does the relocation base have a greater taste than the prior? Number 2, are there more buyers in the relocation base? Number 3, is the income of the relocation base higher than the prior? If all the 3 answers to these are yes, then it will be worth the risk. The risk will outweigh, the reward will outweigh the risk. I'm sorry. Los Angeles is a sports franchise paradise with 67,763 per capita GDP and 10.04 million residents in the county. This is the perfect place for any sports franchise team to set up shop. I will give you examples from sports franchises that did this and made very profitable gains. The Dodgers, they were not always a team that was in LA. In 1957, they immigrated from Brooklyn. Since then, they have become valued at $3.3 billion and number 8 highest on sports franchise values. That is incredible. The Lakers, they came from Minneapolis, sorry about that, in 1960, and they are currently the 2nd highest NBA franchise according to Forbes.com. The Clippers, from 1979, they immigrated from San Diego, California, and they are currently the 6th highest valued franchises out of the NBA franchises. The Rams, they immigrated to Los Angeles in 2015 from St. Louis, Missouri, and they are currently the 4th most valuable NFL teams currently today. The Chargers, in 2016, they immigrated to LA from San Diego, and they are currently the 21st most valuable NFL teams, and they are currently making their way up. The Chargers are currently making their way up in value because that is not very good, actually. All of these teams had one thing in common. They all believed that the incentive was greater than the risk, and they were 100% correct. I'd like to explain why moving to LA makes so much sense to these teams. Los Angeles metropolitan area of the United States of California is the most populous county in the United States, with more than 10 million inhabitants in 2018. It is the largest non-state level government in the United States. Its population is larger than 41 individual states, as well as the combined population of the 10 least populous states. It is the 3rd largest metropolitan economy in the world, with a nominal GDP of over $700 billion, larger than the GDPs of countries such as Belgium and Norway. That's incredible, and that is crazy. Just let that sink in. I'd like to speak now about high saturation of buyers in the market. And I will give two examples, New York and Los Angeles. And this is the reason why so many teams, franchises, can be in these two states and still be the most profitable and dominant forces on the market. We have the New York Jets and the New York Giants from football, both in New York, of course. The New York Rangers that play hockey. The New York Yankees and the New York Mets, who both play baseball. The New York Knicks and the New York Nets, who are both in the NBA. And in Los Angeles, we have the Los Angeles Rams and the Los Angeles Chargers. We have the Los Angeles Kings. We have the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Los Angeles Angels. We have the Los Angeles Lakers and the Los Angeles Clippers. All of these franchises are top 10 on their respective franchise market values, except the Chargers. And they are currently making their way up the ladder. It's crazy. I'd like to talk about tragedies and fortunes. New York Knicks, they're a fortunate team. They are highly controversial. They have a very bad record in their seasons. They're a terrible team. They're known for having a rude and tyrannical owner. He has kicked out players, ex-players such as Charles Oakley, and also very, very high-profile celebrities such as, and season ticket holders such as Spike Lee. And yet they remain number 2 on America's most highly valued sports franchise teams, currently sitting at around an estimated $4.6 billion. I don't know how they do it, they're terrible. But because they're in New York and they're in the Madison Square Garden, they are making boatloads of money. The San Antonio Spurs, this is a tragedy. They won championships in 1999, 2003, 2005, 2006, and 2014. This is incredible. This is a really, really big deal. And this hasn't been enough to put their value above the 2 other Texas franchises, the Houston Rockets and the Dallas Mavericks, who we mentioned earlier. Despite being much better, having much more finals appearances, much more playoff success, they are still valued less than those other 2 teams because of their location. And that is sad. The New York Jets, it's a fortune. Having made the playoffs in 10 years and still one of the most valuable franchises in all of football. That is a fortune. They're lucky because they're in New York. That is the reason why they are so fortunate. If they were in any other place, they would be the worst. That just goes to show, that's just a testament to show how much influence and how much of the value is based upon your location. Number 4, Oklahoma City Thunders. This is a tragedy. They left Seattle, Washington many years ago, which had a per capita GDP of 80,833 and a population, the county population of 744,000. And they left all of that for Oklahoma City, which has a nominal GDP of, a per capita GDP of 48,000. That is just terrible. And the Cleveland Cavaliers are a tragedy. They're 24th out of 30 teams in their value, worth $1.5 billion, being one of the most successful teams in the 2010s, having the best player ever, arguably, and having one of the highest national televised games in the league. So after all that success from them over the course of the last 10 years, the last decade and everything, they are still valued at $1.5 billion and one of the lowest valued teams. And this is because they are in Ohio. And it's just terrible. But it just goes to show that the placement of your team, the taste, the income, and the number of buyers on the market have that shift in demand. that is lacking in Cleveland, Oklahoma City, and San Antonio. They must relocate to better places if they want to see greater value. Now it's time to play the if I could open a sports franchise game. What would it be and where? If I could open a sports franchise today, hoping for the most value, it would definitely be in Seattle, Washington, because it has both strong taste, high income earners, and a large population. Without question, it would definitely be a basketball team in Seattle. And that is all. I hope you guys have a great summer and a great fall. And I learned so much during this endeavor and project. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Goodbye. This is my sister and my nephew. Very beautiful people.